show. I'm really glad to have you here. Don't think we've ever had an Ironman on the podcast before. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And my understanding is you're a Scotsman, which I'm really excited about because I have Scottish blood.
Nice.
But you're in the U.S., so we've got some interesting stuff to start with, and then I'm sure we're just going to roll.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks for allowing me to be on the show, David. I'm excited to be here. So yeah, I've now done 4 Ironman races. Originally, I used to play soccer or football back in Scotland. Grew up playing that and loved the game. Really passionate sport back in the UK. And then I started to play rugby after that, which was again a great sport. You go out there, you play really hard on the field, and then afterwards you shake hands, you have a beer with them afterwards. And then even though my head was still playing rugby, my body wasn't quite keeping up. So I moved into doing running, got into doing some triathlons. And what's interesting is I was a really terrible swimmer. I mean, again, big rugby guy, you can't really see in camera here, but I could literally swim one length of the pool breaststroke. And this is how I talk about in my Ironman mindset, just to going from think I could not do a triathlon to ended up doing full Ironman race, and now 4 of them. So yeah, it's fun.
So how do you get from there? So, and by the way, I come from a swimming and water polo background, mainly water polo.
Okay.
So it's like rugby in the water.
Oh yeah, I love water polo. Yeah, it's fun.
But I mean, a lot of us have this. We have, like, let's make it simple. We just have a bad habit, and we feel like we can't stop this bad habit. You could only get one length of the pool, and then you took that and you moved all the way to an Ironman, which is a lot of swimming.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Determination. The Scottish people are renowned for being really determined and fighters. And so I just figured out, well, if I want to go to a certain point, whether it be an Ironman, whether it be in business, how do I get there? What are the steps I need to take? But more importantly, who are the people around me that are going to help me get there? So I developed a number of coaches. I had a swim coach. I mean, I felt really humbled going to some of the local pools in Scottsdale, Arizona. And here I am effectively totally learning how to swim. I'm a grown adult, and there's people in the pool that are kids and swimming 10 times faster than I am. Yeah. And I'm lying on my back, just learning how to relax and learning how to swim and just getting my strokes there. So it was pretty humbling, but I think a good year and a half of doing swim lessons, I finally started to, get comfortable in the water and became a little bit more natural to me.
Well, it's interesting. It reminds me of a story about Tiger Woods. And I don't really follow professional golf, but I've shared this on the show before. But he when he hit the golf scene, he was winning every tournament, and then he went into a slump. So he took some time off and worked with his coach. And the thing that strikes me is they spent 75 to 80% of the time working on his strengths, but they took 20 to 25% of the time working on the weaknesses, just so it would not hold him back. He wouldn't lose a stroke getting caught in a sand trap or in the short game because his strength was long game and then whatever. So, and it really worked for him. And it sounds like you took a similar approach, that the swimming is a piece of the Ironman puzzle, and you needed to make it so it wouldn't hold you back because you were going to then play to your strengths in the other areas. Am I right?
Yeah, no, that's so true. I mean, it was definitely a struggle, either going to swim practice or going to team meets. And it took a lot to get into the water. Once I got into the water, it was, a different story. But even going to the actual races itself, again, when you're sitting, you're paddling in the water, or you're in the water waiting for the start of the race with 2,400 people there, it's pretty intimidating, especially when you're not necessarily a strong swimmer. And then they're all going off at once, and it's almost like, as you say, it's like a polo game or a rugby game where everybody's punching and kicking each other. So yeah, you struggle through that, 2.5 mile swim. And I came out of the water, and yeah, it was just a sense of relief for me. But once I jumped on the bike, then I started to have fun. That's when I
Yeah.
thought, right, this is my game here. And I used that as, even though, somewhat triathlons as an individual sport compared to a team sport, I just started to use that competition in me to try and chase down people. I saw somebody ahead of me, and I would try and chase them down, either on the bike or the running.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So it's like one person at a time.
Yeah.
You get one person at a time. So now let's flip that to the business experience, because you've had a lot of experience in business, a lot of success. I mean, I was reading your bio, which we'll put on the webinar thing, but those that are listening to the podcast and may not see everything because we just have regular subscribers, will you give them a brief snapshot of your business run, which has been very successful? But then I'm curious, after that, how did you apply that same mindset, either with yourself or maybe somebody that you've mentored, where they had to overcome some bad habit and they just didn't want to go there?
Yeah, no, I'll definitely dive into that. So yeah, when I moved across the States in '99, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. So I started up my own business in 2001. Myself and my business partner, we had a commercial landscape company. We started off really small. I mean, it was literally him and I working out of a small garage lockup, getting there at 4:30 in the morning. But just again, through determination, where we would work in the field, cutting grass and doing shrubs. But then at night, we would go home, we'd get showered, and then start going out and doing networking and just getting to know business people. And just again, through that determination, we grew our business over a period of 15 years, from zero up to eventually we did 20 million. So we had 350 plus employees. We had 4 branches in Phoenix. We expanded into Nevada, had a branch there, and we built a really nice company. But just again, through some luck, some determination, and really taking care of our clients. So when you switch that across to, I had no idea we were going to get to that size. So talking about mentoring other people and coaching other people now, I mean, I definitely feel as though most things are achievable. It's just a case of, I have an interesting saying where only good things happen on the other side of fear. And usually, if you lean into that fear, then something good will come out of it. Meaning that, yeah, they might fall down because of that fear or that challenge they're facing, but pick themselves back up and learn from it. Or if they break through that fear, it gives them more confidence to go to the next level. So that really what I push people. I really push people to think bigger and work into it, have a game plan, and really break through that fear barrier.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love the determination, and I do believe it's Scottish, but because I was heavily mentored by my grandfather, who was 100% Scot,
Right.
and he taught me really well how to work hard, but he forgot to teach me how to work smart, which
Okay.
caused me a lot of issues. But what about, you've got someone and they are a boss, they've got a company, and in many ways they're strong, but they have one weakness, and they have a weakness where they hold on to people who are not performing well too long.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they just don't want to go there. I mean, because they're nice. It's a nice person, right? It can be a man,
Mm-hmm.
it can be a woman, but it's a nice person. So if you were to apply your Ironman mindset to that situation, what might you be working with them on? Or have you been in this situation with one of your managers in your business or somebody you're mentoring, and how you worked on it?
Yeah, I mean, I experience that at different levels, either in my own company or companies I work with right now. And it's definitely a challenging situation because, maybe those employees have been with you for 5 or 10 years and been really loyal to you. But you could either go 2 ways. You can either, you might not, that employee might not be the best one to get the company to the next level. So you may have to make a change there. Or the other way you could go around it is really work and coach that employee to try and take them from, say, maybe they're a B or C level player, but what are the things that they need to take them to an A level player? Do they have some good structure? Do they have some KPIs? And really do some type of personality assessment, really to find out what's that person lacking. Because ideally you want them to stay around, but in some cases that's not always the case, and you have to part ways with them. But I definitely see that challenge all the time, because I firmly believe that if you have good people in your company, that's what's going to take your company to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what exactly is the Ironman mindset?
So Ironman Mindset just talks about every day we're facing some type of challenge, whether it be personally or business or in relationships. And, there's two different ways we can react to that. We either get caught up in all the emotions around that and negativity, and just that holds you back. Or it's a case of just working through that challenge, working through that mindset. A good example is I used to go out and be meeting with my clients when I had my business, and I'd come back into the yard later in the day, and there'd be, probably 70, 80 trucks all sitting in the yard. And, some days I used to get upset because I used to see, things a mess. Some of my trucks were dented, maybe had some accidents. So again, you could either go through that mindset of getting really upset and shouting at people, or it's a case of, well, okay, it's happened. There's nothing I can do about it. What are the things I can put in place to reduce that risk or reduce accidents in the future? Do I need to look at the way the parking lot is laid out? But there's just different ways of dealing with issues. It's the same with, if I used to go on some long training rides or runs, again, I would typically come across different challenges, whether it be a flat tire. I remember one day in particular, I went out, I was supposed to be doing a 100-mile bike race or bike training run, and I literally had 3 flat tires within 20 minutes. So all my spare tubes, everything's, all my spare stuff was now gone. So I could have easily called my wife, called an Uber, taken me home. And I said, you know what, I'm only weeks away from the race. I need to get this done. So figured out where the nearest bike shop was, and I managed to crawl myself to that bike shop, got my supplies back and up and running, and just kept on. So again, different points in your journey, and it's just how you deal with that.
So you've got the book out, Ironman Mindset, which looks really interesting. And so it sounds like what you're talking about is not just kind of thinking positive, because that was one thing you said, is the other side of fear is something positive. Those probably aren't your exact words, but that's what you're saying. But are you also envisioning, how do you get to that positive?
How you get to that positive is how you vision the outcome. So for me, at the end of my Ironman race, it was typically my family were waiting for me. So I knew I didn't want to disappoint them by not crossing the finish line because I hadn't done my training, or, I wanted to be in a good condition when I crossed that finish line. So that's, I think, what got through me through my races and through my long training days. I mean, I was doing 20 to 25 hours a week of training. And you can imagine Arizona, some of the days were pretty brutally hot. And it's the same with business. Ultimately, you're going to have some exit in your business, and you want it to be as successful as exit. You want to be under your own conditions, rather than something that happens to you, whether it be a tragic accident, whether it be some cash flow issues. So ultimately, you want to have some type of successful exit so you could take care of the people that are closest to you. So that's what help get me through some of those challenging times.
So, excuse me, with the Ironman mindset, What drove you to write this? And then you're teaching something. I mean, what's the big problem you're trying to solve? Maybe there's a story behind this, that something happened, you had an epiphany, and you're like, I need to write this now and I need to do this. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason why I wanted to write the book is probably I had it was on my bucket list. My dad's written 4 or 5 books, and I think I just wanted to, make him proud. So it started my book journey to write a book. But then I started to figure out, well, what am I going to write about here? And it goes back to one of the reasons why I moved from Scotland to the US, where I went on a trip. It must have been like December of '98, and here I am in this beautiful location, nice weather in the winter in Arizona, and I'm looking around. You could do all these different sports around you, outdoor sports, and it's sunny. I was looking around all the houses in Scottsdale, beautiful houses, and I started to figure out, well, these are people's second or third houses. What am I doing wrong here? And I dug a little bit further, and a lot of them had businesses. And I got back to Glasgow in Scotland a couple of weeks later, and I was sitting in my dreary, gloomy front room looking out, and it was rainy, it was snowy, it was pretty miserable. And I thought, well, what am I doing wrong here? Life's too short. So I just figured out, well, how am I going to level up? How am I going to get to another level? And that's when I started my whole business journey. I started just to dig in and figure out what did my journey look like. So when I started to write the book, I thought, well, I'm not any different from everybody else around me. There's so many people out there that have good ideas. They just don't take those little baby steps to achieving them. So how can I go out there and inspire, even if I just inspire 2 or 3 people to either complete some type of race, whether it be start a business, whether it be just to take their business to another level by making some tough decisions. So if I get that from my book, then I feel as though I've made an impact in a few people's lives.
So you're trying to help people who maybe feel stuck or they feel like they've plateaued, go to the next level. So how does the book walk people through that?
It talks about, again, not to hold back, to think a little bit bigger from what they've been thinking before. And then back to a point I mentioned earlier, who are the people that are going to help you achieve that? Whether it be coaches around you, whether it be mentors, who are the people that you surround yourself with every single day? I look back at some of my old school friends, and they're still happy, but when I look at what their life is compared to mine, they're still living in the same neighborhood. They're not really, haven't really achieved a great deal. They haven't seen the world. So if there's just a way that I can go back and inspire other people, and figure out how to explain what steps they need to take, whether it be surrounding yourself with the right people, be surrounded by other business people who, again, push you a little bit harder, push you a little bit out of that comfort zone. I think a lot of people get stuck in that comfort zone and they just feel comfortable. That's ultimately what pushed me to have an exit from my business, because I felt as though my partner was in that comfort zone. He just wasn't really wanting to expand the business, and that wasn't really what I wanted to. So if this book helps people through that journey, and again, take these first few steps, then that would mean a lot to me.
So beyond the issue of people being stuck in some way, so right now you're doing work to mentor people, talk with people, train people. So what's the biggest issue you run into with people? Leaders
working too much in the weeds. They're still working in the business, and they don't have the right people surrounding them. So they keep saying they're so busy and they can't dedicate the time. And I try and push them to make time for themselves and figure out who are the people around them they need.
Okay. And then this whole thing about having people around you and surrounding yourself with the right people, okay, whether as mentors or coaches or whatever, but then also, having the right people on your team. With the mentors, coaches, people that are kind of advising you, where do you draw a line where the people are telling you things to do, and in some ways you need to submit to that because it's the right thing to do, but also in other ways you still need to be independent, think for yourself, and make decisions where you may feel that you have more data available to you or more experience and your decision is correct? How do you balance those two?
Yeah, I'm part of a group called the Entrepreneurs Organization, EO, and they have a really good way of doing things where they're not, when you go to those meetings with other business owners, they're not telling you what to do. They're experience sharing what they have been through, positive or negative, and then use, as I suppose, where independence kicks in, you could take what they're saying to you and figure out what's the best path for me. So I found that a really good approach. I've heard, too many groups, too many situations where people have been told what to do, and it totally been the wrong thing, wrong direction to go. But I like to try and soak in from different angles, from different people, try and do my research, and then make the best decision I feel as though is best for me or my family or my business.
Okay, and then what's the most exciting thing? I mean, what's your passion today? I mean, you've done Ironman, you've done soccer and rugby, you've had a successful business with 350 people, $20 million. You've done a ton of stuff. What's your passion today?
I would say I probably have three passions right now. One is to really push my coaching business and go out and make an impact on others. So if I can help, one or two people every day in their business or their journey, then that makes a big impact to me. Second thing, my family. I've now got a big family, 5 kids. So if I could be a great father, husband to them, get them, on the right journey in life. And then the third thing relates to the family. If I, again, a big believer, I think education is important, but I think I'm more of a fan of life experience. So if I could take them around the world with me, I've been to 26 countries. My goal's 50. So if I can take them to different countries, learn different cultures and experience and learn life that way, again, that would mean a lot to me.
So that really drives you in all that you're doing. Okay, so we need to wrap up, and I feel like I'm just getting warmed up. But so where can people learn more about your book? And it looks like your podcast there, the Commercial Landscapers podcast. Is that what you're still doing now?
Yeah, I'm doing podcasts again. Get that give back to other leaders. So I do a weekly podcast. It's even though it's aimed towards the green industry, it brings on different leaders from all different industries and share their experience. But yeah, people can get hold of me through LinkedIn profile, Robert Clinkenbeard. They can go to my website, which is the Radix Group LLC.com. And they can go there, they can check out my stuff, my information's all there. People are welcome to contact me, and just even if it's just a quick, easy question I can answer to help them along their journey. They can go to Amazon.com and order my book there, The Ironman Mindset for Entrepreneurs. But yeah, I'd love to be able to talk to people and just help them on their journey, take those first few baby steps.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Robert, for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, David. Really appreciate your time today.